in investigating homicides and gun shootings in this city is exceptional. We will work together collaboratively because this is a matter of national security, because this is a matter of pride. President Trump has been informed. We've been in contact with the White House. We will shortchange the American public with no resources to make sure we find and safeguard our nation's capital right here in Washington, D.C., and bring anyone responsible for this heinous act of violence to justice. I would lastly like to add to the American public and the world, please send your prayers to those brave warriors who are in critical condition and their families. They are here serving our country. They are here protecting everyday Americans and citizens around the world in our nation's capital. They are the heroes of this day, and we must remember them on this day and every day, and their families and the sacrifice they have made. I will now turn it over to Chief Carroll of the Metropolitan Police Department. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeff Carroll. I'm the Executive Assistant Chief here at the Metropolitan Police Department. At approximately 2:15 this afternoon, members of the D.C. National Guard were on high visibility patrols in the area of 17th and I Street Northwest when a suspect came around the corner, raised his arm with a firearm, and discharged it at the National Guard members. The National Guard members, there were other members that were in the area. They were able to, after some back and forth, able to subdue the individual and bring him into custody. Within moments, members of law enforcement in the area were also able to assist and bring that individual into custody. At this time, as the director mentioned, the National Guard members are being treated at a local hospital. DC Fire and EMS responded to the scene to provide first aid for those individuals and transport them to a local hospital. The suspect in this case was also transported for treatment at a local hospital. Madam Mayor.
Thank you. I'm Muriel Bowser. I'm the mayor of Washington, D.C., and I, too, want to send my thoughts and prayers to the families of the guardsmen and to the guardsmen who are in critical condition in a local hospital. I am joined by members and leadership from the D.C. National Guard, from the West Virginia National Guard, United States Secret Service, Deputy Mayor Pia, Fire Chief Donnelly, and Metro's General Manager Randy Clark, and we join with the FBI Director in ensuring that MPD investigates, the U.S. Attorney prosecutes this case to the fullest extent of the law. I've had the opportunity to brief U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi, who was speaking to the president when I called, as well as the United States Attorney Pirro, who assured me that this case will have her office's complete attention.
Mayor, was there any other suspect?
Chief.
Sure. So no, at this time, there was no indication that there was any other suspect. The one suspect that was involved in this incident, they were shot during the interaction, and they were transported to the hospital for treatment.
Mayor, does this validate the need for the National Guard here in D.C.?
What we know, Andrea, is that this is a targeted shooting. One individual who appeared to target these guardsmen, that individual has been taken into custody.
Mayor, can you tell us any more details on the condition of the two National Guardsmen and whether or not anyone else was injured? And a quick question follow-up for the FBI Director. You said that we'll make sure we find the perpetrators for this act. So just to clarify, the person believed to be responsible is in custody and there are no other suspects?
Sure, so I can start out. Again, Chief Carroll from MPD. So both of the individuals, the Guard members, they are in critical condition in a local hospital at this time being treated. At this point, we have no other suspects. We have reviewed video from the area. It appears, like I said, to be a lone gunman that raised a firearm and ambushed these members of the National Guard, and he was quickly taken into custody by other National Guard members and law enforcement members.
Have you got any sense of motive?
No, at this time, obviously, we're very in the preliminary stages of investigation. There's a lot of things, a lot of agents that are here from various federal agencies, law enforcement agencies. We have the full power of the FBI and our federal partners here in the task force. So we're looking at all those different aspects, but we don't have any motive.
Guardsmen armed, sir?
The National Guardsmen that were shot, I'm told they were armed.
Did they get off shots?
At this time, that's part of the preliminary investigation.
Can you explain how the suspect was apprehended?
Chief.
Sure. So how the suspect was apprehended, as I said, the individual, the suspect came around the corner. He immediately started firing a firearm at the two National Guard members. So at that time, there were other National Guard members that were in the area. They heard the gunfire. They actually were able to intervene and to kind of hold down the suspect after he had been shot on the ground until law enforcement got there within moments.
And he was shot by a National Guard.
At this point, we're still investigating exactly who shot that individual. It's not clear at this time.
Were there DC policemen in the area?
We don't know what kind of weapon. There was DC police. It happened right in front of the Metro, although there is no indication that the perpetrator was on the Metro. So there's Metro Transit Police in the area, and obviously being on 17th Street by the White House, Uniform Division of Secret Service were in the immediate area as well.
What kind of weapon the alleged perpetrator used?
We do not know at this time. It's still under
Thank you,
investigation.
Andrew. We're going to be able to take a couple more.
Has been able to question the suspect, or is his condition so severe that you haven't been able to have a conversation?
Sure. Again, so as I said, we're very preliminary in the investigation, so we're looking to all aspects of who the individual is, his connections. At this time, he's still in the hospital receiving treatment.
And I would just like, hang on, I would just like to add, the reason that this suspect is in custody is because of the bravery of the men and women of the National Guard who responded due to their extensive training to secure American lives today. There was not any further injury and any further shootings. We should highlight the fact that the men and women of law enforcement, the interagency, the Department of War, and the National Guard executed their training with great precision today and prevented an even greater tragedy from befalling us. These National Guardsmen are heroes, and we must pray for their safety and their speedy recovery. And as the Chief said, we are in the preliminary stages of this investigation. We will run down every single lead, every piece of evidence. This is the power of the U.S. government at its best at the state, local, and federal level. That is why this interagency group is standing behind us to assure America and the world that we will continue to keep D.C. safe. And thankfully, we have Metropolitan Police Department, the National Guardsmen, and federal agents, and the Department of Justice and Attorney General willing to prosecute the mission to keep Americans safe. And President Trump has rightly stated that this heinous act will be investigated, and he has thanked the National Guardsmen and women and the men and women of law enforcement.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Did the suspect say anything at the time? Why did the West Virginia governor say that they've been killed? Chief, was anyone else shot besides the two?
Have the families been notified?
General, what about that?
Okay, so I'm sorry for the impromptu jump on. I had a bunch of people on X reach out to me, and I'm like, I don't have any words. I don't know what the hell is going on. And that press conference, probably the same as you guys, didn't really clear much up. It actually made things a bit more confusing. Here's why. Everybody at that press conference just said that the people were shot, but not dead. Well, over on X, it's already been confirmed. It says 2 West Virginia National Guardsmen were killed in a DC shooting. The shooting happened at 17th Street, and as you just heard. But the interesting person that confirmed it was indeed the governor of West Virginia. So unless he's gotten bad information, he confirmed it. He says, it is with great sorrow that we can confirm both members of the West Virginia National Guard who were shot earlier today, they were both from West Virginia, have passed away from their injuries. These brave West Virginians lost their lives in service of their country. And it's interesting, if you look at the time stamp here, it says 3:42 p.m. So that's over an hour ago that, this guy actually confirmed that these soldiers have been killed. So I don't know what's going on. I wasn't really prepared for this. I had a great show scheduled today. I was going to be talking to Alpha Warrior. We were going to show the movie It's a Wonderful Life, do some news, and obviously that's kaput. We can't go there right now. And in talking to Ashley, she's like, just go on. Let people talk amongst themselves. Go ahead and do this, intersperse the news stuff. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk and try to get as much information as possible. Let you guys hear what people are saying, what's going on in the news. But before then, let me show you what Pete Hegseth had to say in regards to all of this.
Very productive meetings, but I want to start by saying after those meetings, myself and my team were notified that 2 National Guardsmen have been shot in Washington, D.C., critically wounded. The shooter shot in a cowardly, dastardly act targeting the best of America, heroes willing to serve in Washington, D.C., serve for people they don't know and they've never met because they love their country and their capital and their community. They were willing to do dangerous things others were not because they love their fellow Americans. Someone decided to turn that into targeting National Guardsmen. That will only stiffen our resolve. We will never back down. We will secure our capital. We will secure our cities. In fact, this happened just steps away from the White House. It will not stand. And that's why President Trump has asked me, and I will ask the Secretary of the Army to the National Guard, to add 500 additional troops, National Guardsmen, to Washington, D.C. This will only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we make Washington, D.C. safe and beautiful. The drop in crime has been historic. The increase in safety and security has been historic. But if criminals want to conduct things like this, violence against America's best, we will never back down. President Trump will never back down. That's why the American people elected him. America and our warriors, our National Guardsmen, are strong. And so we're following this very closely. We're getting information rapidly. I mentioned the faith of this country, the Christian faith, the prayers. I would ask for prayers for our National Guardsmen.
Excuse me, Mr. President.
Appeals to heaven for our National Guardsmen, for their families, on bended knee as a War Department, as a nation.
Excuse me,
We will never back down.
Excuse
And we think about them right now.
Venezuela.
We had a couple of great, productive meetings with the President and Minister of Defense here, where we are dedicated to the counter-cartel effort here. Criminality knows no boundaries, whether it's the United States of America and Washington, D.C., or it's the Caribbean and the Western Hemisphere. We are going to go after narco-terrorists. It will not stand. Our borders will be secure, whether it's the Dominican Republic or the United States of America, and we look forward to working with our partners to make it happen. You know, President Trump believes in a clear principle: peace through strength. You get peace by being strong. And if you're a narco-terrorist who wants to bring drugs to the United States of America, we will find you, we will fix you, and we will finish you, because we have all the rights in the world. We've got lots of attorneys and lots of intel analysts, and we know exactly who we're targeting and why. If you're involved in that conduct, we will kill you. It's that deadly serious because of the poison that has made its way into the American public for far too long. President Trump is serious about it, we're serious about it, and we're proud to be working with the Dominican Republic, another country very serious about ensuring that cartels don't set the agenda. We do. Thank you very much. It's been a great series of meetings.
Thank you very much.
So if I was a member or a part of that seditious six, I think right about now I'd be crawling under the floorboards trying to hide. I'm not going to sit here and point fingers at people. I'll let other people point fingers. But at this point, what I personally feel is that you have messed up more than you know. You have given President Trump the opportunity, the means to go ahead and do what we've all been waiting for. Two people, whether they're still alive or have expired, are the only thing right now that he needs. If he wants to roll out, as Pete said, 500 more troops in Washington, D.C., that's just the appetizer. I think right now there's going to be a lot more to come. Let me show you what President Trump thus far has responded with to this incident. This is what he said. Actually, he's got two. Maybe he already knows what he wants to do. He posted this. The animal that shot the two National Guardsmen with both being critically wounded. As you can see, the time of this was 3:23. And two separate hospitals is also severely wounded, the guy who shot them. But regardless, he will pay a very steep price. God bless our great National Guard and all of our military and law enforcement. These are great people. I, as President of the United States, and everyone associated with the office of the presidency, we are with you, and absolutely. But what was interesting is that a second post went up. And the second post went up about 8 minutes ago. And the second post is very interesting. Why would he post this after he just posted that and seeing what's going on? So look at this. Democracy is on trial in the coming elections in the beautiful country of Honduras on November 30th. Will Maduro and his narco-terrorists take over another country like they have taken over Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela? the man who is standing up for democracy and fighting against Maduro is Tito Asfura, the presidential candidate of the National Party. As I'm reading this, and I'm like, well, either that was pre-scheduled and they didn't have a chance to stop it, or he's already drawing a parallel to whoever did this. In any event, I don't know. We're going to find out more as it goes. This is very, very odd. I had as I said, I had an interview, or not an interview, a discussion with the Alpha Warrior at 8:30. He can't make it. He's on the phone talking to some of his soldier buddies. Everybody I know who's been involved in the military is on the phone talking about this. And yes, there was some perfunctory posts by some of the people on the left, Hakeem Jeffries, or even Eric Swalwell. They know at this point you're boxed in. There is no place for you to go. At this point, you better be wishing these people well. There's nothing else for you to say. Take that, put that in your pipe and smoke it, you pollsters. Go ahead and poll somebody now and see how they feel. I've been telling you, you don't know what's going to happen. There's no crystal ball. You don't know what's going to happen 11 months in the future. You don't know what's going to happen 1 week in the future. Wait till you see the polls next week. Even ordinary, non-political Americans are going to go, especially if this person who did the shooting happens to have a funny last name, if you know what I'm talking about, and I think you do. I can't say it. But I think every single one of you know that if we hear a name that kind of sounds kind of funky, all hell is going to break loose. President Trump is going to have to somehow keep people tamped down. See, it's one thing walking around Washington and taking pop shot at civilians, which none of us want. But if you will take a pot shot at a military person, that means we don't stand a chance. It means you don't regard our life at all if you're willing to go there. Now, I don't know much about the military, but I know the brethren in the military are going to be hot. Going to be very hot, especially in Washington now. There are going to be a lot of itchy trigger fingers. We got to pray for them. We got to pray that they are given discernment. You hear a noise or somebody comes up on you. Have discernment. Be careful. Because right now they're sitting on a tinder keg. If two of their people just got killed, which there's conflicting information, what the hell is going to happen? Well, I'll tell you one thing that's going to happen that kind of didn't surprise me. The leftist media is already trying to play it down as if, this just happened. Had nothing to do with what the senators and Congress people said last week.
But of course, there's so much controversy happening in the United States right now with ICE, who are also wearing uniforms and wearing masks. And so you don't know, people walking around with uniforms in an American city. There are some Americans that might object to that. And so apparently this shooting has happened.
What? Has nothing to do with the Democrats. Didn't even bring it up. Oh, it must be something else. It must be ICE. It must be something President Trump is doing. It must be the deportations. People are upset. It has nothing to do with what the suicidal seditious six had to say. Let's see. Anybody else got something to say about this?
Where a focus will turn to whether these guardsmen were specifically targeted. If that's the case, it would fit with what we've been hearing from law enforcement officials for a number of months now, that some political flashpoints in the country, whether that's immigration policies by the administration, the ongoing Israel-Hamas conflict, even amid a tenuous ceasefire, those kinds of flashpoints have made people in uniform, be they military, law enforcement, government officials, people in uniform, have increasingly been targets, and that is going to be one focus of the investigation going forward, Kira.
Oh, it's nothing to do with the Democrats. It's nothing to do with them going out and putting billboards up and telling people the military is going to actually whack you in the street, which at least Slotkin said. No, it can't be any of that. It's the military, it's the deportations, it's Israel. Democrats? They have anything to do with this? And I'll tell you, One prayer I'm going to be saying very soon is I hope and I pray this wasn't somebody who wasn't supposed to be in the country. I pray that it wasn't a newcomer. Because I think y'all know if this was a newcomer who took shots and possibly killed 2 people in the National Guard, President Trump and Pete Hegseth are going to have a job like none other. They're not going to be able to just simply try to calm people down. They're going to have their work cut out for them. People are going to want heads on a plate. Deservedly so. So right now, let me just tell you, if you're a newcomer and you're not supposed to be here, the last thing you want to do from this point on is throw a brick at an ICE vehicle. The last thing you want to do is walk up on somebody in uniform. The last thing you want to do is antagonize somebody who has their life in your hands. I've never been in military, but I can tell you I want to go home at the end of my shift. I would want to make sure that me personally, if it's between you or I who's going to go home, guess what? I'm sleeping in a bed. You're sitting on some steel or concrete. It's a very scary situation we're in right now. It's going to try our faith very hard because right now there's so many people, including me, who want vengeance. And see, when I was talking to Ashley, I'm like, I don't have the words to say. And she's like, well, let's just talk. And let's maybe take somebody down off the fence who might be thinking, oh no, we're ready to go Rambo. We're going to go absolutely ballistic. Because it's going to happen. Somebody somewhere is going to, I've had enough. I've had enough with what these Democrats have been doing. I've had enough with what they've been allowed to get away with. I've had enough with these judges. I've had enough of it all. We want our country back. And I don't mean to sound like, some crazy guy right now, but I'm trying to tell you, breathe. Don't act. Breathe. But at the same time, I don't know where you live. I know down here how it is. If you can, be packing. And right now, watch out going into big crowds. I even said that to my daughter. I'm like, hey, Ashley, watch out going to malls. Watch out going places. If this is happening on Thanksgiving Eve, who knows what could happen when people are at Christmas tree lightings and shopping for Christmas gifts. Amazon's probably going to make a whole bunch of money because people are not going to want to deal with this. I know Robin's not going to want to go traipsing through a mall anytime soon. Man, it's absolutely crazy. So I'm going to get a drink, but I'm not running a commercial. I'm going to put on some news as they're talking about it. This is crazy.
Where the National Guard is and where they're not. So he comes around a corner to shoot 2 National Guardsmen, and there was enough around to quickly neutralize that person if some of the video that we just saw is correct. But overall, I just asked the Brain Room and just about what has happened over the last 4 months since in major cities, the National Guard has been put into play along with the Border Patrol and ICE. And there's an increase in assaults on these agents up 1,115%. And you have these politicians saying they're the bad guys and National Guard doesn't belong here. So anyone on the edge, anyone unbalanced, anyone who feels as though they are getting hurt by this, by having security, I know it's mind-boggling, this is the time to act. On some weird, twisted level, this guy probably feels like he's a hero.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll find out more about what the exact motive was. We do know that it was targeted, obviously, and Brian brings up the kind of political debate that's been going on around dispatching the National Guard to American cities. The D.C. case is different, though, because Donald Trump is actually in charge of D.C. versus a Chicago or a Los Angeles. But Lisa, how do you see the political debate at this moment, and where do you think it goes from here? Because I would imagine at just the time when we need the temperature to come down, it's about to get a lot hotter in here.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're all sick to our stomachs right now. Right before Thanksgiving, I pray for these guardsmen that they survive. I pray for their families right now, who are probably hoping to, maybe see them tomorrow for Thanksgiving. And now they're fighting for their lives. I mean, look, the whole reason President Trump federalized the D.C. police and deployed the National Guard was because we saw a series of high-profile crime incidents in Washington, D.C. 2 Israeli embassy staffers executed in cold blood. You had a congressional intern murdered. You had a Democrat member of Congress, an armed carjacking that happened to him. Senator Rand Paul had a staffer who was stabbed. So that's why President Trump ended up federalizing the D.C. police and also deploying the National Guard. But it's also soft on crime policies that have been led by Democrats in places like Washington, D.C. And I'm sorry, but I'm angry because I'm tired of those enforcing law enforcement having targets on their backs. And you can go back to Ferguson in 2014 with the whole hands up, don't shoot lie with Michael Brown that, by the way, President Obama helped push, that sort of appended our criminal justice system that turned criminals into victims, victims into criminals. And then that same playbook got extended to ICE agents and Border Patrol as well. They were called the Gestapo. And then now some of these officers and agents have bounties on their heads, Secretary Noem has told us, to be kidnapped or to be murdered as well. We saw attacks and attempted assassination in Dallas. And I'm sad because we're being told now that this was a targeted attack against the National Guardsmen. So now is that same narrative being applied to our National Guardsmen as well? So I'm sorry, it's disgusting. We do need to tone down the temperature, but we also need to be honest, and we need to stop, or those on the left need to stop putting a target on the people who put on a uniform or put on a badge to protect our nation and our communities.
Jimmy?
At the risk of oversimplifying this, and I'm kind of embarrassed to have to say it, if you don't agree with what a president's doing, you're not supposed to shoot, you're supposed to vote. Okay, that's what this is all about. There's been this slandering of men and women in uniform. We're a week removed from Alyssa Slotkin saying, these guys might get nervous out there and start shooting at civilians. And the idea that they've been portrayed as Gestapo and everything in between, again, I don't want to have that nasty conversation, but you can't avoid the fact that these guys got shot in the same week that we were just told they might be condemning sedition, and there's been all kinds of terrible things going on. So my frustration is everybody telling you they're trying to protect this democracy has kind of upended the will of a president that people voted for this. The troops are breaking recruitment numbers right now because people support this agenda. The people who don't have slandered the people in uniform, they're getting shot. The whole thing just disgusts me.
All right. There is more to come on the horrific shooting of 2 National Guard members in D.C. after this.
All right. So I've been looking around and checking some stuff to see what exactly other people are saying. And I've got a feed of the actual location, but for some reason, they're not really saying much at all. So in this regard, let's just go ahead and see what you guys have to say, because this is absolutely horrific. And what do you guys think? What exactly is it that you guys think at this point in terms of what do you think President Trump is going to do? Because I'm thinking it's time. Let's see here. Diana says, sad for the families. Democrat representatives must tone down their rhetoric and evil words. We should have on Monday a peaceful. We're going to have a prayer meeting on Monday. It was already scheduled. We need consequences and justice. Tough already. And I think beyond justice, I think at this point you need military. I truly feel at this point that military is the only way. And in that regards, it's time to set Pete Hegseth loose and see what we come up with. This is exactly what I was thinking at this point. I was thinking, where'd that go? Somebody put in here that this may, Yvonne. Can imagine. I don't see any other way out of this. We know all the political stuff. We know the judges are crooked. We know what the people on the left are saying. And, I've been saying for quite some time, trying to be low key, but is there any doubt at this point that we're in a pseudo civil war? Let me show you something that I posted earlier, which was a retweet from Tim Pool, which is absolutely chilling. I don't know if you guys have seen this. Let me pull this up. Yeah, look at this. This is crazy. Okay, so you got this, and it's I'm sorry for the language. He was ticked off. This is overtly illegal. I don't want to say outright civil war. Say it. When there's a good chance foreign actors are doing this too. So this is what they've created a website. Their website is not what you signed up for. And in this website, not what you signed up for, they are telling military people what to do. You saw the billboard. The billboard they're referring to is that they put a billboard up. And this billboard is saying, hey, not what you signed up for, and you go here. You have questions, you're not alone. But first, here are proactive steps you can take to reduce the risk. Be sure to access resources from a personal device, not a military or government computer, not a government email or phone or Wi-Fi network. So they're telling the people in the military how to circumvent everything and be completely surreptitious about all your communications. They're actually telling people this with billboards and a website. Number 2, use an encrypted Proton email account. Seriously? This is what you're telling our military to do? Use the Signal app for encrypted text and calls. Use a VPN, a virtual private network like NordVPN, support services. And here was the billboard that they put up. Where is this? This was in Fayetteville, North Carolina, right outside of Fort Bragg. Did you go airborne just to pull security for ICE? And then you can see the website, not what you signed up for.org. They need to pull that website down like yesterday. What do you mean, not what you signed up for? And they're working with people to try and break the military from within. Who knows if they've had cells that have already been put in place by Obama and Biden and everybody else. Who knows what they've put in place? But now they're telling them how to subvert the military and communicate with who? See, that's the one thing that, as I read this is the thing I read this is like, okay, so you're telling me to do all this. You're telling me, reduce your risk, do all this, contact us, don't use your phone. Who the hell are they contacting? Who are they going to be contacting if they use this website and this app? Foreign country? Democrat operatives? Hiding behind an NGO? Who are they going to be giving information to? They have no idea. Hey, I'd like to report, blah, blah, blah. Where are you? Oh, I'm aboard this ship. Where's the ship? Well, the coordinates right now. Okay, so what else can I... And they could be giving away secret information. And they're telling these people, just go ahead and call us. Just go ahead and call us. Make sure it's encrypted, and we'll help you. Help you do what? If you want to get out of the military, I don't know, try to get out. What are you going to try and do? What are you trying to elicit from these people? What kind of information can this person who's deployed give you? And who are you? That's really scary. Let's see, what do we got going on here? Jimmy's talking. Not Jimmy, what's the guy's name?
On him, you might not know who he is yet, so you're working off a facial rec and things like that. You got to make sure that everybody's pulling together so that somebody far-flung doesn't have something that's crucial right now. Because remember, we don't know that he acted alone. He might have a whole group behind him, and you want to make sure right now that safety's ensured.
Oh, Brian?
Yeah, go ahead, Jess.
I was just curious, obviously, fast moving, not a ton of information right now. We saw the governor of West Virginia put out a statement that the guardsman had passed away. Then that was retracted. Hopefully we'll stay on that side of it. Can you talk a little bit? You just, said the incident commander has to.
All right, I want to jump in there. So the governor of West Virginia, not a lower politician, the governor of the state of West Virginia, go ahead, he comes out and says they're dead. And now they're saying he's retracted it. What did he hear? Who did he hear from? Or are they keeping it a secret that these people, because I heard one was a woman, one was a man, that they keeping it secret at this point so that they can do some further investigation? But he already came out the bag with it and said they passed on. So somebody contacted him. Well, did he get bad information? I don't know. But that press conference was so short. It was such a short press conference. We didn't get much information from it. Not much whatsoever.
going to be in. All these agencies are saying, hey, guys, we know you had plans for Thanksgiving. Those plans are over. And nobody's going to say no. And if you do say no, and you're the commanding officer, and you hear that, you say, well, you're going to be in a new assignment starting tomorrow, pal, and you better pick one, and you're not going to like it. You got to get everybody in right now. And one of the things they're doing is to scrape social media, especially if they have an identifier. If you have a face, we did this with the Boston Marathon shooting. We had so little to go on. We spent all night trying to do it. Facial rec was very much in its infancy then. The video wasn't great. It was from Lord & Taylor or one of those, department stores up there.
Yeah.
We had so many false leads. Nobody went home. People were sleeping under their desks. You got to try to ID that person, and social media could be the key. But once you have them, the social media is going to be crucial for motive.
Paul, what does it tell you that there's over the last 4 months, 238 ICE agents have been assaulted, 40 Border Patrol agents assaulted, 18 use of force incidents, but really nothing on the National Guard.
Yep.
The way that's described to us in that press conference, this guy came around the corner, knew exactly what he wanted, shot guys with bulletproof vests on who are clearly well armed.
Yeah.
So if I'm to give you those facts, what are some of the things that pop into your mind?
First of all, and look, I don't like to speculate too much, but you got to admit the possibility here of this being something of a suicide mission, because my understanding was that there were not a lot of National Guard around, right? So you got to say to yourself, he comes in shooting, he's got to know this is going to be a tough thing
They
to get
walk around
out.
with rifles.
Exactly. I was just down in D.C. I saw, it was middle of the night, too, and I saw two of them. It was on one of those Independence Avenue, one of those things they got down there. I had to say to them, there they are on patrol at 3 in the morning, 2, 3 in the morning, and it's pouring rain. They're in rain slickers, and I thanked them, because that omnipresence is what they're there for. People misunderstand the role. They're not down there booming dogs, answering 911 calls. They are there as a deterrent. It's purely prophylactic. People see them. We've had it. People forget this. New York. Since 9/11, we've had them in New York. 25 years. There's been no.
They were just in the
incidents.
subway.
And Kathy Hochul, our governor, Democratic governor, has them 1,000 of them in the subways. She credits them with a 40% drop. And you haven't heard any incidents of them tackling people or shooting anybody, unlike what we've been hearing from Melissa Slotkin, that the shots could be going the other way. So, yeah, you're right. You see the violence that's coming in, it's all going in one direction from where I see. And, tease it out. We just heard that the judge down in D.C. said, okay, this is an illegal deployment. All right, now she stated, but if you're sitting as a recipient...
Of course it's going to be appealed.
It's going to be appealed, and she's going to lose, in my estimation, as a lawyer. But I got to tell you, if you're sitting on the recipient end of the seditious six, as everybody's calling them, and you hear that ruling, you say, oh, yeah, see, it is illegal. I'm not going. These National Guardsmen don't do that. They were out there.
Paul, we're going to see federal charges. What do you think those will look like?
I think it's going to go terrorism myself. You have a much lower bar to get a CT charge, terrorism charge, in D.C. because it's all federal land. It's going to come down to the motive, but I think before long you're going to hear the Bureau takes this thing over, that is the FBI, and you're going to look at a terrorism charge based on it being federal land and a political motive.
Okay. When you hear that they probably have someone ID'd for this, does that give you hope, or maybe not hope, but maybe of the mind that they know what kind of weapon this was?
I don't know. What they will get the weapon off of are the shells at the scene. Right now, they've clamped that whole thing down. The Bureau, as I understand, the FBI is doing the forensics on the crime scene. Some of these guys are so good, they can tell, they'll look at it. They can say, yeah, that's the shooters. That's one from the Guard. They know right away. If he is, in fact, ID'd, the most important aspect of that is you can contextualize who he is to see if there's any other threat. Now you got to see, where does he live? Is his home booby-trapped? Does he have people that are involved with him? Think of the Tyler Robinson thing and all the stuff that went on there. It's going to be very, very simple.
All right, Paul Morrow, thank you very much for your expertise, and we will continue to keep everyone posted as we learn any new developments on this case. Meanwhile, coming up, who is the leader of the Democrats?
All right, so you can tell that they're moving on to a different story right now because they've got no information whatsoever. Everything is tight-lipped. I've been looking around to see if I can find some stuff. Let me see if I can bring something in here, which is a live feed of exactly what's going on, but doesn't seem like there's much happening. So hold on, let me just check one more thing. Nope, there's not. Everything just went dark. All the feeds I have just went dark. There's not any more information. So I guess this is what we know at this point. I wanted to come on. I wanted to let you guys see what was happening, try to give you some information. And most of all, I just wanted to talk to you guys because I know that there's probably a lot of you who are pissed off right now. I mean, absolutely pissed off. Yeah, she goes, this is making me sick to my stomach. American MAGA girl. Makes me so angry. Marla Jordan, enough is enough. I think that's what we all feel at this point. I think we all feel like somebody goes, hey, let me guess, this was a lone wolf, somebody says. Yeah, I know how you feel. If I seem like I'm short for words, is because I told Ashley, I don't know what to say. I am so pissed off myself. So the only thing I can probably say right now, which is no comfort to anybody watching, is pray. We all have to keep praying and keep your head about you. If you hear somebody, if you got a friend or a family member who has had it to the point where they're talking about acting, try to talk them off the fence. Try to pray with them. As much as we want to see action, as much as we all want to take action, try to tamp it down. People need you. They need you in place. And I'm sure, some of you have military relatives and friends. I've got a buddy who's a couple buddies who are sheriffs down here in different counties. They've had it. They've absolutely had it. Not only have they had it with what's going on, they've had it with their bosses. They've had it with people trying to pacify these idiots. They've had it with the wokesters who are trying. It's really bad. And I'm not telling you anything you don't know at this point. All I can do is say, let's pray and try to come with some resolve. But I think at this point, every single one of us understands, every single one of us feels, every single one of us knows this can't continue. We have finally, as they often say about the Rubicon, this is the Rubicon. This is the point of no effing return. It has to stop now. President Trump, I'm just going to check and see if he's posted anything else, but it has to stop. Pete Hegseth, everybody, you got to do something. I'm looking at some of the stuff on True Social, and you can tell some of it's auto posting because it's not really appropriate for what should be happening right now. So he's down here locked down, I'm sure, in Mar-a-Lago. J.D. Vance was giving a speech in Kentucky when he was told what was happening, and he got off the stage. Let me see if I can pull that down for you, because maybe you guys want to see that. Bear with me while I'm going to get that. I got to wait for them to come back from a commercial, and then we'll go ahead. I'll see if I can't download it. But J.D. Vance heard while he was on stage, or right before he went on stage, what had happened. And he was talking to a large contingent of soldiers. The very people right now who are being attacked by the Democrats, the ones who are now seeing, National Guards person, 2 of them, in what amounts to being a suicide attack. It's absolutely nuts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for that video. I'm going to put this on so you can see what the updates are live, and then we'll play the J.D. Vance video.
To be targeted. The shooter is in custody. His condition is unknown. Now to this. Democrats, we're talking about politics again, are hoping to find a leader of their party once and for all. And James Carville says it might take a while for someone to emerge.
No one represents the party. The only person that can represent the party is a presidential nominee who will be chosen by the party members who vote in the primaries. Congressional parties don't have or generally don't, and we certainly don't, have a defining person. And that's what people say, well, there's no leader of the party. No, there won't be, but that's what Democrats are going to decide. And they'll also decide in what direction that the party is going on. But we're not going to have a leader until we have a presidential nominee.
All right, but Congressman Eric Swalwell, who wants to be governor of California, it's pretty much a layup, according to political expert Jimmy Fallon, thinks the bench is deep and is even comparing them to the Avengers.
Who do you think is the leader of the Democratic Party?
It's the Avengers right now, right? You've got Jasmine Crockett coming to California, helping us elevate the vote to pass Prop 50. Ruben Gallego is, going to Iowa and New Hampshire as a Marine Latino, first in his family to go to college. There's a bunch of us who are stepping up, but we all understand, the assignment, and that is to bring down prices, period.
Okay, but it's important to point out that Gallego is and Crockett are the leaders. They're part of the Avengers series.
This is a terrible movie. Who wants to see it?
So, Lisa, he's right, James Carville. It's hard to have a leader before you have a nominee for 2028. But who has emerged as a personality to rally around, who's saying the type of things that the Democrats can rally around? Who do you think it is?
Yeah, that's not a movie I want to watch.
Right.
This version of the
Nobody gets saved.
I don't think it'll do that well.
It's where the criminals win.
Yeah, I mean, who knows, Brian? We have so much time until 2028. But I do agree with him. Democrats aren't going to have a leader until the 2028 presidential election. Who was the leader of the Republican Party after Mitt Romney got smoked by former President Obama? We didn't have one until President Trump came on the scene, won the 2016 primary, and then completely transformed the Republican.
I can't listen to this crap. These people are talking about politics when there's people clinging to life right now. I mean, it's like it's almost as if they've been told, don't cover it anymore. We don't know any information. It's not worth covering. So everybody has gone dark in it, and this video with J.D. Vance is going to take a long time to download because it's a big file. So what I'm going to do, I don't want to listen to those people. I'd rather talk to you guys. Investigations accomplished nothing. I would tend to agree with that as well. Barry, are you showing the movie tonight? No, I'm going to do it tomorrow night. I don't feel it's right to be giggling and watching a movie tonight with what just happened. It just doesn't sit right now. Thank you for stopping. You're right, Barry. You're talking. They're talking about crap. Yeah, they are. Let's see here. I better not see one of those SOBs holding up anything but the American flag. Absolutely. Sedition 6 will receive no repercussions. I don't know. I mean, can we actually say that at this point, that they're gonna skate free of everything? I mean, that's going to be up to the people in the voting, but the media will cover for them right away. So we know that's what's going to happen. Penny says, okay, here's a good question. Penny says, do they want an actual civil war? Yeah. I mean, at this point, I have to say that's exactly what they want, because they want to blame it on the Republicans. Don't be surprised if you start hearing in the next 24 hours before they give out the name that this person was MAGA, an upset MAGA, that they weren't deporting enough people. They will try and they will say anything to try and make that happen. So be on your toes with all the disinformation and misinformation, which is basically the same thing. I hope the 6 fries. You're right, Patricia. They better watch the judges that will step up and cover him. That's why at this point, Kash Patel is probably going to step in, or Pete Hegseth is going to step in, so that those judges can't do that. This is the message you send when there's no accountability. Exactly. If someone isn't in the military, well, they don't want you. See, I think that's just the opposite. I think at this point, the Democrats want the troublemakers to stay and snitch and say whatever they can possibly say. I don't think they want them to quit. I think they want them there to be pains in the butt. And then whatever they try to do to you, if they try to court-martial you or kick you out, we'll be there for you. We got judges that'll make sure that doesn't happen. You'll get paid. Yes, the Democrats have indeed been calling for this. Yeah, SV, you sick? This where'd that go? SV, they took your message away. I tried to just put it up and I don't see it. Wait a minute, hold on. Try it again. Oh, it just went away really quick. I'm trying to see what SV said. You sick, disgusting ghoul. These 2 of our heroes were just shot in broad daylight. The guard to save countless lives. Yeah, exactly. I don't think any of us think it's going to get any better. It's going to continue to be like this. Don't kid yourself. It's bad. It's bad. We need the truth, and they're still alive. Who is the shooter? Don't hide it from us till you make up a story. I understand what you're saying. Janine, is that Janine? Janny says it all right there. We got to go with the Insurrection Act. Maybe that's why the media clammed up. That's why the media immediately moved away from the story. I cannot believe I'm looking at this and I'm watching, an actual news channel, and they're talking about Democrat leadership. They're not even covering it. I mean, look.
% approval rating. Donald Trump tries to do it, and the caucus says, actually, no.
What are they doing? How are you not covering this story? How are you just letting it go off? Hey, we don't have any news for you, so we're just going to pretend like it didn't happen. Now I understand it's a holiday, and the script writers and everybody who puts stuff in the teleprompters and all those people are gone. So there's no one to put the words on the screen for them. And because they don't have people showing them what to say, they can't say anything. So they're right back to what they had prepared, the prepared remarks they were going to say. Like I said, it's very hard to talk this stuff off the cuff because nobody understands what the heck is going on. And this is actually it. So here I've got JD's thing. I'm going to have to take a second to configure it because it'll take too long to download. So give me, I'm going to need a little bit more time. I'll be right back. I'm going to get the JD Vance video for you.
There's somewhere to be every night of the week. Seems God ain't close as he used to be. And there's more tequila in this old town than pines in Tennessee. I ain't the man I thought I'd be. And these neon lights that keep me up got me thinking maybe mom and dad had it right all along. We're too old to still be alone, and we ain't happy ever after all. I'm just saying it wouldn't be as bad as we made it out, living in our hometown.
Actually spent a little time away from home, which I know a lot of you will probably be doing this holiday season. Thanksgiving, Christmas, I spent 2 Christmases in Iraq and another Thanksgiving, and I only say that I don't think you understand sometimes how much you affect everyday people, not just by your service to our country, protecting us, and everything else that you do unselfishly, but personally speaking, my son was very young. I was a single father. And being away from Christmas that first year, I kind of sat him down. And it was one of the most important life lessons I ever got to teach him, which was, look, we've been fortunate the last few years. I had finally made some money. I said, to be able to afford whatever we want. I said, I've been asked to go entertain some guys and girls over in Iraq this Christmas. So we're not going to have a lot of presents this year. I'm going to be gone, but I'm going to go be with people who can't be with their families as well. And I think that's really the spirit of Christmas and the spirit of our country. And I'm proud to say he's 32 years old now, happily married, with 2 grandchildren, and he couldn't come today because he's working. He has 2 jobs. So I just wanted to say thank you again, because it's people like you that I was able to teach him that lesson. Now also, like I said, I'm 54 years old, and I see a lot of young faces around here. And I was thinking on the way up here, I thought about the first time that I realized I was old. And I'd like to share that story with you because, make no mistake, everyone in here is going to have this moment. And it's a moment. It happens once. And it's probably 12, 15 years ago, maybe in my early 40s, I was in Malibu, California, with a very, very good friend of mine. We're sitting at a little lunch spot, having a beer and having lunch. And this very pretty young girl came over. And she said, "Oh my God, Kid Rock." And she was with her friend. And she said, "Can I have my picture made with you?" And I kind of, winked at my buddy. I'm like, "Yeah, motherfucker." I'm like, yeah, Grandpa still got it, right? I'm like, and I kind of made a whole to-do out of it. I said, "You know what? Why don't we go outside, man? Get better light out there with the sun, this, that, and the other." So I'm standing there with these two very pretty young ladies, hamming it up in front of my buddy. And they were kind of nervous, and I kind of like to break the ice. And I said, "So how's it feel to have your picture made with Brad Pitt?" And my buddy, he's like, "Yeah, Brad Armpit." So I'm like, blah, blah, blah. We break the ice, take the picture. The young lady looks at, it was a phone at the time, one of those flip phones. And she looks at the picture and she goes, "Oh my God, my mom's going to shit." And that's how I knew I was old for the first time. So, but that's it. I'm just here to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you tremendously for your service, especially those that can't spend it with your loved ones this year. Now I'm so proud to bring up a man who's also served in our military and the Marines. I know it's not a day for politics, but I do hope to call him our 48th president one day. It's so nice to have people like him who are just down-to-earth normal in office. And I can't stress that enough, having been in and around politics quite a bit. And, I've been privileged to spend time with pretty much every president since Carter, just a normal human being. Whether your politics align or not, he's just a good, normal guy. And I know he fights for all of us here. And like myself, I don't think it matters your political affiliation. We all support our troops, and we are, once again, tremendously grateful for everything you do. So without further ado, could you make some noise, please, for the Vice President of the United States, Mr. J.D. Vance.
It is great to be here in beautiful Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and let me just say, I want to say first, before we get started, on a somber note, we had, and some of you may have seen this on your phones or on social media, but apparently there was a shooting outside the White House just a couple of hours ago. And we're still learning everything. We still don't know the motive. There's a lot that we haven't yet figured out. But what we do know is that a couple of National Guardsmen were injured in the line of duty. And first of all, I want everybody who's a person of faith to say a prayer for those two National Guardsmen, that they're able to spend Thanksgiving with their families instead of losing their lives, because I understand they're still in pretty tough condition. But I think it's a somber reminder that soldiers, whether they're active duty, reserve, or National Guard, our soldiers are the sword and the shield of the United States of America. And as a person who goes into work every single day in that building and knows that there are a lot of people who wear the uniform of the United States Army, let me just say very personally, thank them for what they're doing. We're grateful to them, and we're praying that they're going to be safe and they're going to spend Thanksgiving with their families. God bless them. Now, I'm going to talk a little bit about the business of the Army and about what you're doing and about why it's important to the United States of America and why we are proud of you, every single one of our soldiers here in Fort Campbell and all across the world. We have got some incredible guests here to honor this moment, to honor you, to say thanks to so many of you for spending time away from your families here this day before Thanksgiving. And I want to give just a few shout-outs to some of our special guests before we get started. First of all, to General Travis McIntosh and Command Sergeant Major Charles Walker, thank you guys for leading this incredible facility, and thank you for serving in the United States Army and making us proud. Where are you guys? Please stand up and be recognized. Thank you all. We've got my dear friend, Senator Marsha Blackburn. Marsha, please stand up and say hello. And we also have Congressman Rose. Where is Congressman Rose? Please stand up. Thank you, Congressman. It's good to see you. Now, I've got to, of course, thank my dear friend Bob Ritchie. You better know him as Kid Rock. But I want to say to my staff, I gave them one instruction, and that's that I don't have to follow a literal rock star before I give a speech. And they screwed that up the day before Thanksgiving, so every single one of them are fired. But thank you to Bob Ritchie, Kid Rock, because he's not just a great musician, he's not just a great American, he is a person who loves the soldiers of the United States Army, and we are proud and grateful for Kid Rock for being here today. I want to take another few moments and just say thanks to Major Josh Wilcox, Master Sergeant Aaron Duhacek, Mr. Jim Parks, Major Rob Wright, and every single soldier who made it possible for me to come and visit. Now, I won't say that the weather is cooperating because it's windy as hell and it is cold, man. It is cold up here. My staff told me to wear a jacket, and I said, nah, I'll just be fine. And here I am, 2 minutes in, wishing that I had listened because it is really freezing cold up here. But we're gonna have a little fun despite that because we're here to celebrate not just the United States Army, we're here to celebrate each and every one of you. And I know we've got some units here at Fort Campbell, and I want to give a shout out to each of the great units. So if you are with the 101st Airborne Screaming Eagles, let me hear you a little bit. Where's the 101st Airborne? That was pretty damn good. That's pretty damn good. Let me say that the 101st Airborne is one of the proudest units in the entire United States Army for all warfighters everywhere. Everybody knows the prestige, everybody knows the professionalism, and everybody knows the greatness of the 101st Airborne. So when the nation calls on the 101st Airborne, you all execute, you make us proud, you kick the enemy's ass, and you come home safely, and that's exactly what we want our soldiers to do. We are honored. Somebody said, I agree. Thank you. I appreciate that endorsement. We are also honored to be here to welcome the men and women from the Strike and Destiny Brigades who just finished deployments in Europe and the Middle East. We're the Strike and Destiny Brigades. I want to say to those of you who are here for the first time back home in a few months, we're proud of you, we're grateful to you, and from the Vice President of the United States, welcome home. We also want to recognize the Legionnaires. Where we got some Legionnaires at? Like 5 or 6. We got some Legionnaires. How about the Night Stalkers of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment? We got some Night Stalkers out here? A few? Like 3. They're all working right now. And I also want to give a shout out to the 52nd Ordnance Group, members of the 2nd Battalion, 44th Air Defense Artillery, the men and women who run the elite training schools here, and many, many more soldiers who make this one of the proudest military installations anywhere in the United States Army. And I want to tell you, just give you a message from the President of the United States. I know he couldn't be here, but the President is proud of our soldiers, and he's proud of every single one of you. So from the President of the United States, he just wanted to make sure that you knew he wished you a happy Thanksgiving, and he's grateful for all you do. Now, I'm proud and happy to serve with a lot of very good people. And one of them is my dear friend Dan Driscoll, who's the Secretary of the Army. Dan is doing a great job. And I also want to give a shout out to our incredible Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. I think he's doing an amazing job. And you know, Pete gave a speech at Quantico, which is a Marine base. Don't hold it against us, but he gave a speech in Quantico a few months ago that I think is one of the best speeches that I've heard about the United States military, because he was talking about the incredible esprit de corps, and he was talking about the importance of holding the United States Army and all of our branches of the military to the very highest possible standards. And I listened to this speech, and I'm thinking as I'm watching this speech, man, Pete, this is a hell of a speech. This guy is one amazing orator, and he was talking about the importance of military standards. He said, and I'm going to quote here from his speech, "The new War Department golden rule is this: do unto your unit as you would have done unto your own child's unit. Would you want him serving with fat or unfit or undertrained troops or alongside people who can't meet basic standards? He was talking about the importance of bringing the highest standards possible to the United States Army. And I hear Pete saying that, and I'm like, hell yeah. That's exactly what we want out of the United States Army. I see a lot of you nodding your heads. And then he talks about the importance of this job and why we have to have the very best people doing this job. He says, because this job is life or death, standards must be met. And not just met at every level. We should seek to exceed the standard, to push the envelope, to compete. And this means that the War Department, first and foremost, we must restore a ruthless, dispassionate, and common sense application of standards. And I'm like, man, this is awesome. We're talking about bringing the highest standards in the world to the very best United States Army. I'm ready to run through a wall with this guy. And then Pete goes, no more beardos. I'm like, what the hell is that all about? He's talking about me. And I said to Pete afterwards, I was like, man, you had me. This whole speech was amazing. But you know what? The point is here that we believe in you so much. We believe in your mission so much that we know that you guys can meet the highest standards in the world. And when you look to your left and to your right, we want you to know that you're serving with the very best and the very brightest this nation has to offer. Before I came over here, I was at the chow hall, and we got to serve some food to the soldiers there. And I was talking afterwards, just sharing a meal with a few of the soldiers. And a guy said to me something really interesting. He said that 250 years ago, when the Army started, there was a Prussian military leader who came over and helped train the very first United States Army. Because, of course, back then, we didn't have very many military experts in our country. We were still in our infancy. And what he said was very fascinating. I think the guy's name, he said, was von Steuben. Von Steuben said that it was only the Americans who just didn't need an order, but also needed to be told why they were doing what they were doing. And I thought that was a fascinating insight to the soldiers of 250 years ago and a fascinating insight to the soldiers of today. We don't just want people who mindlessly follow orders. We want people who think, because we know that the most powerful weapon in the United States arsenal, the most powerful weapon anywhere in the world, it's not a rifle, it's not a tank, it's not a helicopter or an airplane. The most dangerous and lethal weapon anywhere in the world is a United States soldier, and we're proud of you, and we're going to stand behind you every step of the way. And with that basic mindset of not just telling you what we need you to do, but why we need you to do it, I think you all should expect from your military leadership, from the president on down, you should expect us to explain what it is that we're doing and why we care so much about it. Why do we care so much about high standards? Not just because we think that standards got a little lax in the last administration. We care about high standards because if, God forbid, the President of the United States asks you to go to war, we want to make sure that the people that you're fighting with are the very best. We owe it to your moms and dads, your grandmas and grandpas, to only send the very best people off to foreign conflicts, and that is why we care so much about standards. You've heard our Secretary of the Army, our Secretary of War, you've heard the President of the United States. If you've listened to anything that they've said over the last few months, they talk a lot about preparing the Army and the whole military for the age of modern warfare, because it's changed a lot. We've got drones now, we've got cyber warfare, we've got satellites in space that are as important to the modern warfighter as anything, as any rifle or tank or airplane was 20 or 30 years ago. Now, yeah, of course, we still got a lot of tanks, we still got a lot of rifles, we still got a lot of the things that we've always had. But in this new generation of warfare, we need to give you the technology and the training to be the very best. And we know that you are the very best, but part of training you to be the very best is to make sure that you have the ability to use the modern weapons of warfare better than anybody else. When we look at the battlefield of the future, when we look at the next war, God forbid, if we're called on to fight it, it is going to be, if anything, a war up here as much as any other conflict in the history of the world. If you look at what's going on in Russia or Ukraine, or you look at what's going on in some of our counterterrorism missions, or you look at what could happen in the future in the next military conflict, it's not going to be the war that we fought 20 years ago. It's going to be a much different war. And one of the things I want every single one of you to know is that the President of the United States has given us a very simple mission, that we have got to equip you with the resources, with the training, and with the equipment to win the battle of the future. Now, I happen to believe that one of the mistakes that we made in this country, and let's be honest, it wasn't just Democrats, it was Democrats and Republicans, is that we were far too willing to send the bravest people in the world, our best natural resource, you all, the young people who put on a military uniform and are willing to fight and die for their fellow countrymen. We were too willing to send you off to battle without a clear mission, a clear definition of what you were supposed to accomplish. That was the mistake of Democrats and Republicans. It is the great stain on the political leadership of this country that we had the best troops in the world, and very often we went and sent you off to battle without a clear mission. And that is something this president and this administration is never going to do. If we ask you to go off and do something, if we ask our soldiers to risk their lives to defend their countries, what I promise you is that we're only going to do it with a clear mission and clear guidelines. And we're going to give you the tools necessary, we're going to give you the resources necessary, and we're going to empower you to do a very simple thing, which is kick the enemy's ass and come home safely. That's what the United States wants from its soldiers, and that's what the President of the United States asks of each and every one of you. It's not that hard, but that's what you should demand of your political leadership. Just as you follow orders of the President of the United States, this President stands by you. And if he asks you to do something hard, it's only going to be for a very good reason. You know, one of the things that I love about Thanksgiving, it's probably my favorite American holiday. If you think about all the holidays that we celebrate, Thanksgiving is the most uniquely American holiday. You know, Christmas, of course, the birth of Jesus, all of these other holidays, they're very important. And I love Christmas as much as anybody. I've got 3 little kids. But Christmas is a holiday that 1.8 billion Christians celebrate all over the world. Thanksgiving, what we celebrate tomorrow, that is a uniquely American thing. That's why, for example, we have, turkey. Think about turkey. Who really likes, be honest with yourselves, who really likes turkey? You're all full of shit. Everybody who raised your hands. I know. Think about it. And here's how I know that every single one of you who raised your hand is lying to me. How many times do you roast an 18-pound turkey just randomly? Just, a nice summer afternoon, we're going to go get an 18-pound turkey. Nobody does it because turkey doesn't actually taste that good. But on Thanksgiving, on the most American holiday, I got a fan over here, on the most American holiday, we're going to cook a turkey, by God, because that's what Americans do. We cook this gigantic American bird, and we do all kinds of crazy things to make it taste good. I talked to a soldier today who she said she's going to deep fry a turkey, and I'm actually going to deep fry a turkey myself tomorrow. And look, here's the thing. If you've got to deep fry something to make it taste good, it probably isn't that good. That's a pretty good rule of thumb when it comes to food. Chicken is good all the time. Chicken is good when you deep fry it, but it's also good outside of it. But here's the thing about Thanksgiving. It is so American because at the heart of it is the spirit of gratitude. And I know that every single one of you has something tomorrow to be very thankful for and to be grateful for. And that's what I think, really separates. People ask me all the time for advice. And the only piece of advice I can ever give that I think is true for every single person in every circumstance is that the happiest people that I've ever met, the most successful people that I've ever met, they live their life with a spirit of gratitude. They recognize that they would not be there but for the grace of God and a lot of great people in their lives. And so if I may, as your vice president, that's the one piece of advice I want to give to you on this day before Thanksgiving is to live your life in the United States Army, to live your life everywhere with a spirit of gratitude, to recognize that you wouldn't be wearing that uniform were it not for somebody in your life who loved you and cared for you. that you wouldn't have this incredible opportunity to serve the United States. And yes, it's tough. And yes, it's a life of sacrifice. But I happen to believe that the life of service and sacrifice is the greatest blessing that we have in this room today. Because what an amazing country it is that takes people from all walks of life and makes them part of the same United States Army, the same sword and shield for the American people, the same organization that for 250 years has kept us safe. So tomorrow, I'm thankful for a lot. I'm thankful for my beautiful wife and our 3 beautiful kids. I'm thankful to have the opportunity to serve as Vice President of the United States of America. I'm thankful for my family. I'm thankful to Almighty God for the incredible blessings that He's given this country and also He's given to me personally. But one of the things at the very top of the list that I'm thankful for is the United States Army and for the people in this room. Now, I know that a lot of you are going to spend tomorrow with your friends and families, but I also know that a lot of you are not going to have that opportunity. That you've got deployments you've got to prepare for, that you're stuck on this base, you're not able to travel home because you've got to prepare for the mission. And when I think about all the many blessings that are very, very present in my life, there is nothing that compares to being the Vice President of the United States at a time like this. Vice President of all of you, Vice President of the greatest fighting force that exists anywhere in the world, the United States Army. You guys make this a happy Thanksgiving for me, because every single day you show up to work, you put on that uniform and make your nation proud. You make me proud to be your Vice President. So happy Thanksgiving, soldiers. Keep on doing what you're doing, and never forget that the most deadly weapon anywhere in the world, it's not about technology. It's not about what you're holding in your hands. It's about what's up here. You are the most dangerous weapon anywhere in the world, and America is counting on it to keep us safe. Happy Thanksgiving, soldiers. Thank you for having me. God bless you.
So I want you to take a look at something. We've seen J.D. Vance do many speeches. Watch how the Secret Service absolutely converges on him. Tells you something about the threat in Washington. All of a sudden, look at them all. They're starting to come in right now. We haven't seen that at most of the speeches. So they're on high alert. Watch. As he walks off the stage, there's guys down in the pit. There's guys walking everywhere, right near him. That struck me that we haven't seen that before. And as he said before he got on stage, he had gotten a word before he got out there. And these guys are right with him, lock, stock, just following his every move. Don't normally see that. Even when President Trump speaks, he walks off. And when he walks off, you see the guys. But look at the army of guys. So look at all these guys that are surrounding J.D. Vance. It's pretty impressive. That's pretty impressive. At that point, they probably, I don't know if that means anything. I don't know if it means that they got additional information that they didn't relay. But it was kind of interesting as he walked off, the swarm of security that came around him. I pity the fool that would have tried to jump the fence or jump through there. But even then, those were all military guys. Those were predominantly, I guess we would say, friendly, a bunch of friendlies. And they still swarmed him. So before he walked on stage, he had gotten the information. He decided he was going to continue with the speech. And then he broke the speech and said, hey, listen, we understand that a couple of people have been shot. Obviously, he hadn't get updates because there was nobody up there handing him notes. But in the interim, as everything has been transpiring, in Washington, you just saw a real intense security around the president. And I would bet if I drove up the street to Mar-a-Lago, where President Trump is right now, you probably can't even get off the exit in the highway. They probably have blocked off the exit. Nobody's getting in there. So that should tell you something. At least it could tell us something. Either they don't know if this guy is indeed a lone wolf, or maybe they already know he's connected to somebody. But if this was just a lone wolf guy, just nobody, but just some crazed wacko, I don't know if they would have that kind of Rambo-type security being that we've seen so many speeches and so many rallies before. So it was obviously different than what we're normally seeing. So I told you I've got something good to show you, but before that, I got some absolute crazy stuff to show you. SV had told me a couple, Ashley had sent me a couple. You got to see this insanity. At Twilight Zone level insanity of the left.
Matter of two people fighting for their lives, guardsmen, that this president put there. And as I said, I was one that was very vocal against that. But I'm not going to belittle the fact that their lives are at stake to get into a back and forth with the president. I can say that if I'm a member of their families, I don't want to hear what he's saying about Honduras right now. I want to pray that these two guardsmen who were ordered there and who we're being told by the mayor was ambushed, make it through. And all of this about sending in 500 people, what does that have to do with where we are now? I think that we've got to, those of us that have been opposed to the president's policy, show that we're not going to morally match him by going down to a level of insensitivity. There are two people fighting for their lives on Thanksgiving Eve. And it just seems ironic to me that people that pardoned people assaulting police officers are now talking about how they're going to uphold and look up to the people in the building. People in that building were beat January 6th. So
he's comparing January 6th to two National Guardsmen who were basically had an attempted assassination. Can you be more of a scumbag? Can you crawl in the gutter any deeper than that asshat just did? And he can't understand why he'd want 500 more officers. You better get used to it. I think that number is going to climb. I think what I've seen in Chicago, they burned up the woman. And every time something happens, we're not supposed to talk about it. Can't even bring it up. Can't show any videos. They burned another woman alive after a guy's been in and out of jail 72 times. It has to stop. You guys can freak out all you want, but it has to stop. We just can't. You want the Civil War. You don't want people defended. Look at the angst, or rather the nervousness in this shot.
You, Kelly, let's go to you now because you are with the president. We saw his post on social media. Are we expecting any formal remarks from him in the wake of this shooting?
All right, so before I get into that, Kelly O'Donnell, she's here in Palm Beach County at Mar-a-Lago. They have a setup where they keep the press. She's obviously not at Mar-a-Lago, but there's an area outside of Mar-a-Lago where they keep the press. And so she was there as he got the word.
We don't have any indication of that at this time, but
just to let you know, she is on the road. See the water there? The water over there is where Mar-a-Lago is. They put the press across the Intercoastal, across the bridge, in a hotel far, far away. You're not even allowed to get near Mar-a-Lago. So sometimes when people the reporters are at the White House, that's different. Down here at Mar-a-Lago, it's basically a moat. And I just wanted to point that out because many of you guys may not understand where Mar-a-Lago is. It's a stretch of property that sits between the Intercoastal and the ocean. And at this point, they're patrolling, the boats and Coast Guard are patrolling the Intercoastal. And then on the other side, the Coast Guard and Air Support are patrolling the ocean. And he's got these people across the street, way across the street, because that Intercoastal is not a small body of water. And so she's probably right now where she's standing, I would bet, I'm probably thinking of which hotel she might be at. She's probably a quarter mile to a half a mile or more away from Mar-a-Lago. They can't even get close themselves. Now that's ordinary. I bet you it's even worse right now.
typically when there is an incident of national proportions, it is certainly within the realm of possibility that the president may wish to speak on camera. We will keep you updated as we learn more if that's even being considered. The president used immediately his social media platform in order to communicate and to provide some of the early specific details about this, which indicates that he's been getting briefed at Mar-a-Lago, which the White House had told us, and he has a secure facility at his home here in Florida that allows him to have secure conversations when there is highly sensitive information. This kind of a situation is probably one where the president has been working the phones and getting information from his advisors. And clearly the president has put a great deal of his own political capital into the idea of trying to bring safety to Washington, D.C. and beautification and other parts of what he is trying to do in his second term. Gary talked about the president saying that there are no longer murders in the district and crime doesn't exist anymore. That is not accurate, but there has been a reduction in crime. And clearly, this is a painful example about how crime and violence can take place at any time. The president, of course, is the one responsible for bringing the National Guard into the district. That was a concept that he believed strongly in to augment the local police. Did so with some support from the mayor, Muriel Bowser. Of course, the District of Columbia, different than states. The president's also wanted to go into Illinois and other places where local officials have not welcomed that. With the district, it's a different relationship because it is not a state. Clearly, the president has a lot invested in this. West Virginia, where these two National Guardsmen are from, according to the governor there, Governor Morrissey, is a place where President Trump has had overwhelming support in his elections and has a strong connection to the people of West Virginia. That's another dimension of this as well for the president to deal with. As we also indicated, the vice president is on the road today providing holiday support for members of the military at Fort Campbell in Kentucky. And his information was a little behind at the time when he spoke earlier, where he was wishing recovery for these two National Guardsmen. Sadly, we now know both of them passed away from their injuries here. The vice president.
Okay. I don't know what the hell's going on. I'm looking on X. People are like they're dead. They're not dead. The media doesn't seem to know. There seems to be all kinds of misinformation or disinformation or truth, half-truths. We don't know. And I've been scouring. I'm sure SV has been looking around as well. Right now, there's so much conflicting information. As you're watching J.D. Vance get whisked off the stage, as you know, there's protocol at Mar-a-Lago, and now we've got conflicting information. Are these people passed on? Can't tell. As I sit here right now, I can't tell you because there's so much going on in terms of whether they're alive or no longer with us.
Of course, connecting with service members today as a part of a project to acknowledge the holiday and to show support for them. So all of these things connect back together. The urgency of trying to find motive and circumstances on the ground in Washington, and then the larger political implications of all of this, of what it means for the president's plans for D.C. and other cities. Sinclair?
All right, so they definitely don't want President Trump expanding this, which they know what could possibly be happening. That martial law is the next move on the board. Pulling the Insurrection Act and just saying, we're done with this. We're done with the judges. We're done with all of this. Cry all you want. Doesn't matter. We're going to take control of this country.
Have been monitoring the first briefing there. That was FBI Director Kash Patel, who spoke first, followed by Metropolitan Police Chief Jeffrey Carroll, and then Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser. The huge, big, important headline is that according to all three of those officials, the two guardsmen are still alive. They describe them as being in, quote, critical condition. A really harrowing description of the shooting from the police chief, who described a, quote, suspect who raised his arm and fired at the National Guard's members. But most importantly, it seemed Michael Feinberg, the men who were men and women, we don't know their sex, actually, it strikes me, but they are both alive and in critical condition. We're joined by Michael Feinberg. Michael Feinberg, obviously the other huge headline there, Kash Patel, the first person to speak, announcing that this will be investigated, quote, treated as federal crimes.
Yeah, that's correct. There's been a lot of speculation since this event initially occurred as to who would be the lead agency investigating, simply because there's a real jurisdictional mash up with what's going on in D.C. with federal agencies partnering with Metropolitan Police Department, who are partnering with the National Guard. And all of those agencies report to different chains of command. And there's probably a good argument you could make for why any of them should have primacy. When I talked to some of my former colleagues who were in touch with the National Guard, it was not clear that the FBI would take the lead, but it looks like that's been sorted out by all involved agencies to everybody's satisfaction at this point.
Michael Feinberg, Kash Patel, who received a lot of criticism from within the Trump circle for his immediate conduct and public utterances after the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk.
And so right after a shooting, they're going directly into smearing Kash Patel, who Caroline Leavitt already said it's fake news, but they're still running it. So you can't believe anything these people are saying, and in the disgusting way in which they say it. I mean, it's just, it's absolutely crazy. Here's one last one of their insanity.
So add to this very confusing picture, the National Guard, who've been around in D.C. for a little while, so they're not quite as novel as they were in the first week or two. But these are folks who've basically been thrown into a pseudo law enforcement function, most of whom don't really have law enforcement backgrounds. And that adds, I think, a real wild card element to this thing. We don't really know how those folks would respond if confronted with a violent incident on the street with an armed person. So there's a lot of variability, I think, in the platform here, and so we'll have to just wait to see what more facts develop from the investigation.
So, bottom line, these people are terrified because they know whoever did whatever they did, whether or not we're going to find out in the next couple of hours whether these people have indeed passed on. I just saw a video, just to let you know, I just saw a video where the people responded, the National Guard officers who were right there when the person got shot, were exhausted doing CPR. So they were obviously trying to resuscitate somebody, because you don't do CPR on somebody who's conscious and doing well. And so they worked, as that was playing, I was watching that video, and they worked on this one person, continuous CPR for a good, 60 seconds or so, and then the video cut. And so any of you who have ever performed CPR, you understand at that point when you're doing the compressions, you're trying to bring somebody back. So who knows? I don't know what's going on. There's even people out there on the right who were saying, we know for sure that I can't tell you. So all I can say is just pray. Just pray for these people and their families, and for the other soldiers who had to witness that and then had to do CPR. But I don't want to leave you with a bad taste in your mouth. I was going to show this prior to the movie, and I said, you know what, I'm going to show this anyway, because I don't think there is a more opportune moment for you to see this than it is right now, to understand what it is Thanksgiving really means. God knows I have so much to give thanks for. Every single one of you. You have allowed Robin and I and Ashley to just do so many different things to increase what we're going to do, to broaden our studio and all kinds of different things, to try and do more and more and more to bring you guys some information as fast as we possibly can. The new studio will be ready. I should say that in case I don't make it. It will be ready on December 1st on Monday. I was there today. After dinner tomorrow, I'm going to go back over there and do it again. But our expansion and how we're doing can only be done because of each and every one of you tuning in. I just hope I continue to earn that from you. And I thank my wife. I thank my daughter. I thank my grandkids. And I thank every single one of you. But I have to basically show this to you, because this is the guy who got me and gave me the inspiration to do this. And every year for like 25 years, Rush Limbaugh told people what the true story of Thanksgiving was. And if you've never seen this, you're about to be in for a treat. And if you have seen it, you may not see this version. See, there's a lot of versions out there where Rush talks about the story of Thanksgiving, and it's like 8 minutes or 11 minutes. This is his full version. And he goes through so much as he's talking about this, and only the way Rush Limbaugh could. And so I think tonight is a perfect time for us to not wallow in the misery, but to give thanks that we live in a country and that we have a president and you have life. No matter where your life is, no matter where you are in terms of prosperity or lack thereof, it doesn't matter. You get up. You got up in this morning, the sun was shining wherever you were. Maybe it's cold, but you were breathing and you're still on this earth. So thank God for that. So I'm going to leave you guys with this story of Thanksgiving told by the one and only Rush Limbaugh.
The real story of Thanksgiving, going back to the very first early days of the Pilgrims arriving at Plymouth Rock, is that socialism failed. Now, the story of the Pilgrims begins in the early part of the 17th century. The Church of England under King James I was persecuting anyone and everybody who did not recognize the church's absolute civil and spiritual authority, actually the state. Now, those who challenged the ecclesiastical authority and those who believed strongly in freedom of worship were hunted down. It's in England in the 1600s. They were hunted down, they were imprisoned, sometimes executed for what they believed. So a group of separatists, people that didn't want any part of this, fled first to Holland. They liked wooden shoes and cheese. They established a community. They were there for 11 years. After 11 years, about 40 of these separatists who liked wooden shoes and cheese agreed to make a perilous journey to the New World. They had heard about it. Some new exciting place hadn't been developed. They knew that they were going to face hardship. Hardship like you and I don't know. And I'm not preaching to you. I'm just telling you, we don't know the hardship these people endured. We can't. We are way too advanced now. People who lived in the 1600s would not believe life today. Try to explain flight, jet travel. They wouldn't understand it. They knew they were facing hardship. But paramount importance to them was living freely and worshiping God according to the dictates of their own consciences, their own beliefs. That's what they were denied the freedom to do in England. So, August 1st, 1620, the Mayflower set sail. There were a total of 102 passengers, including 40 of these separatists, the Pilgrims. There were just 40 of them. They were led by a man named William Bradford. Remember his name. On the journey across the Atlantic, you talk about something that had to be frightening and scary. The Mayflower was not much bigger than a 50-foot boat. 102 people on it. On the journey, William Bradford set up an agreement, a contract, if you will, that established just and equal laws for all members, all 40 members of this pilgrim community. Didn't matter what their religious beliefs were. These were the laws they were all agreeing to live by. Now, where did these laws, these ideas, come from? We're talking about the Mayflower Compact is what Bradford wrote. The Mayflower Compact derived from the Bible. The Pilgrims were a people completely steeped in the Bible, Old and New Testaments. They were a devoutly religious people. No matter what else is said about them, and even that is denied, they were devoutly religious. They looked to the ancient Israelites for much of their example, and because of the biblical precedent set forth in Scripture, they never doubted, because of their faith in God, that their experiment would work. They never doubted they would get to the New World. They never doubted that once they got there, they would thrive. The journey was long. It was arduous. It was dangerous. And when they finally landed, when the Pilgrims finally landed in New England in November, according to William Bradford's detailed journal, they found a cold, barren, desolate wilderness. Imagine New England, as it exists today, has nothing but rocks, forest, undeveloped nature in November and getting colder. There were no friends to, there was no shelter of any kind other than what, hiding under a tree. There was nothing, folks. It was desolate. There were no hotels. There were no inns. There were no places to clean up. There were no houses to this was real hardship. The sacrifice that they had made for the freedom to worship was just beginning. During that first winter, remember they arrive in November, during that first winter, half of them, including William Bradford's own wife, died of starvation, of sickness, exposure to the elements. Now we're getting close to what you were taught in school. When spring finally came, and by the way, writing that doesn't do it justice. Spring didn't just finally came. It was a survival. It was an act of survival that you and I cannot possibly relate to or understand. American Special Forces can. Military people who've been trained can understand what the Pilgrims were. You and I can't. We've never done anything like that first winter in the New World. They survived it. Spring finally came. They did meet the Indians, the Native Americans who were there, who did help them in planting corn and fishing for cod. They showed them where the beavers were so the beavers could be skinned for coats, other things. You animal rights people are not going to like some of this story, but it happened. But even at this, even with this degree of assistance from the Indians and Native Americans, there wasn't any prosperity yet. They had the Mayflower Compact. They had these laws they were living by, but there was no prosperity, and I wonder why. Now, this is important to understand here, folks, because this is where modern American history lessons end, with the Indians teaching the Pilgrims how to eat, how to fish, how to skin beavers and all that. That's where it ends, and that's the feel-good story, but that doesn't even get close to the true story. Thanksgiving is actually explained in some textbooks as a holiday for which the Pilgrims gave thanks to the Indians for saving their lives. It wasn't that. That happened, but Thanksgiving was a devout expression of gratitude. The Pilgrims to God for their survival and everything that was a part of it. Now, here's the part that has been omitted. The original contract the Pilgrims entered into in Holland, they had sponsors. They didn't have the money to do this trip on their own. They had sponsors. There were merchant sponsors in London and in Holland. And these merchant sponsors demanded that everything that the Pilgrims produced in the New World would go into a common store, a single bank, if you will. And that each member of the Pilgrim community was entitled to one share. So everybody had an equal share of whatever was in that bank. All of the land they cleared, all of the houses they built belonged to that bank, to the community as well. And they were going to distribute it equally because they were going to be fair. So all of the land that they cleared and all the houses they built belonged to everybody, belonged to the community, belonged to the bank, belonged to the common store. Nobody owned anything. They just had an equal share in it. It was a commune. The Pilgrims established a commune, essentially. Forerunner of the communes we saw in the 60s and 70s out in California. They even had their own organic vegetables, by the way. Yep, the Pilgrims, forerunners in organic vegetables. Of course, what else could there be? No such thing as processed anything back then. Now, William Bradford, who had become the governor of the colony because he was the leader, recognized that this wasn't going to work. This was costly and destructive, and it just wasn't working. It was collectivism. It was socialism. It wasn't working. That first winter had taken a lot of lives. The manpower was greatly reduced. So William Bradford decided to take bold action, which I will describe when we get back. I want to get back to where we left off. William Bradford, the governor of the Pilgrim community, saw that none of this was working. The Mayflower Compact was not working. Giving everybody a single share of stock in the common store, in the common bank, was not working. Collectivism. It was as costly and destructive to the Pilgrims as it is and has been to anybody who has ever tried it. So Bradford decided to scrub it. He threw it out and took bold action. He assigned a plot of land to each family. Every family was given a plot of land. They could work it, manage it, however they wanted to. If they just wanted to sit on it, get fat, dumb, happy, and lazy, they could. If they wanted to develop it, if they wanted to grow corn, whatever on it, they could. If they wanted to build on it, they could do that. If they wanted to turn it into a quasi-business, they could do whatever they wanted to do with it. He turned loose the power of the capitalist marketplace. Long before Karl Marx was even born, long before Karl Marx was a sperm cell in his father's dreams, the Pilgrims had discovered and experimented with what could only be described as socialism, and they found that it didn't work. Now, it wasn't called that then, but that's exactly what it was. Everybody was given an equal share. And you know what happened? Nobody did anything. There was no incentive. Nothing worked. Nothing happened. What Bradford and his community found was that the most creative and industrious people had no incentive to work any harder than anybody else did, unless they could utilize the power of personal motivation. But while most of the rest of the world's been experimenting with socialism for over 100 years, longer now, trying to refine it, perfect it, reinvent it, the Pilgrims decided early on to scrap it permanently. What Bradford wrote about this experiment should be in every school child's history lesson. If it were, we might prevent so much suffering. We might have prevented this election if the true story of Thanksgiving had been taught for years and years and years. And I'll tell you what Bradford wrote and how they fixed it when we get back after this obscene profit time out here at the bottom of the hour. So William Bradford, after putting everybody in a common store, the Mayflower Compact, they wanted to be fair. They wanted everybody to have one common share of stock in everything that happened. that the Pilgrims produced, and it bombed. It didn't work. There was no prosperity. There was no creativity because there was no incentive. Here's what Bradford wrote about the failure. For this community, so far as it was found to breed much confusion and discontent. They were not happy, in other words. This community was found to breed much confusion and discontent and retard much employment that would have been to their benefit and comfort. In other words, nobody worked. The way they set it up killed and discouraged work. There was no need. For young men that were most able and fit for labor and service, sat around and did nothing, should spend their time and strength to work for other men's wives and children without being paid for it. They said, why do that? So they didn't. It was thought to be injustice. Why should you work for other people when you can't work for yourself? What's the point? So you hear what he was saying here, folks? The Pilgrims found that people could not be expected to do their best work without some incentive. So what did they try? What did Bradford's Pilgrim community try next? They unharnessed the power of free enterprise. They invoked capitalism, the principle of private property, all the way back in the 1400s. It was incredible. Every family was assigned its own plot of land, and they could do with it whatever they wanted to do. Bradford wrote, this had very good success, for it made all hands industrious, so as much more corn was planted than otherwise would have been. So when profit was introduced, when the opportunity to prosper was introduced, it went gangbusters. That, my friends, is the essence of the true story of Thanksgiving. This is where it gets really good. If you're laboring under the misconception that I was taught in school, they set up trading posts, they exchanged goods with the Indians after they had enjoyed this prosperity. It was not the Indians that brought them prosperity, and it's not said to insult anybody. The Indians assisted them on their arrival, undeniably. But what led to prosperity for these original settlers was a discovery that the common store failed. Socialism didn't work when they introduced what turns out to be capitalism. They didn't have the name for it, but when they turned loose individual incentive, keep what you produce, sell what you don't need, they went crazy. This is not something they were taught by anybody but self-experience. It was not the Indians. None of this is said to put anybody down. Don't misunderstand. The Indians did a lot of things that helped them, which I'll get to in just a second, but it was their own industriousness. They set up trading posts, they exchanged goods with the Indians, they sold stuff to them. And those profits allowed them to pay off the debts of their sponsors in London and in Holland. And you know what? The success of that colony, after they had abandoned socialism and tried what was essentially capitalism, the word spread throughout the old world of this massive amount of prosperity that was there for the taking in the new world. And guess what happened? The new world was flooded with new arrivals. The success and the prosperity of the Plymouth settlement attracted more Europeans and began what came to be known as the Great Puritan Migration. And all it took was prosperity and the word spreading across the Atlantic Ocean of how there was prosperity and it was there for the taking. All you had to do was get there and give it a shot. The lesson is, the true story of Thanksgiving is that William Bradford and his Pilgrim community were thanking God for the blessings on their community after the first miserable winter of a documented failure brought on by their attempt at fairness and equality, which was socialism. It didn't work. Only when they abandoned it did it work. And I need to say again, because I don't want people to be misunderstood, get noses out of joint. The Native Americans, the indigenous peoples, the Injuns, whatever you want to call them, they were of considerable assistance, and they were friendly when the Pilgrims arrived. But they had little, if anything, to do with the prosperity that occurred, because that was the result of Bradford and the Pilgrim leadership deciding to change their structure according to the Mayflower Compact. Now, the Indians assisted, naturally, I can't deny it. I mean, they taught them how to fish and this kind of thing that they didn't know how to do, and that led them to be productive, undeniably so. But it was the Pilgrim community itself which experienced this massive prosperity, the word of which spread all the way back to the Old World, Europe, across the Atlantic Ocean. Now, as I told you, during that first winter, 1620, only 44 of the original 102 Pilgrims survived. They had an elected governor by the name of John Carver. And it was an Indian by the name of Squanto who came to their rescue. And this is, as I say, explored in great detail in Rush Revere and the Brave Pilgrims. Now, Squanto was no ordinary native. Early settlers in 1610 captured him and sold him into slavery. A group of Catholic friars ended up freeing him, brought him to England, where he learned to speak English. In 1618, serving as an interpreter on an English ship, he was brought back to the New World. It was Squanto, who is a famous Native American in his own right in the Pilgrim story. It was Squanto who taught the Pilgrims how to plant, how to fish, how to skin beavers. It was Squanto who brokered a peace treaty between the Pilgrims and other Indian tribes. There was more than one tribe of Indians. It was not copacetic. It was not friendly and at one with nature. It was not anything like the multiculturalists would have you believe. There were squabbles, there were power struggles, turf battles. It was human. The Indians, the Pilgrims, everybody was scrambling for power, for survival. Survivability was the name of the game, and it was not guaranteed. Now, many of the Pilgrims literally believed that God had sent Squanto to save them. And they believe, Pilgrims believe, that without Squanto, they never would have survived or thrived. And they experienced a tremendous harvest in 1621, and that's the big gathering that is taught in the history books. The native Indians and the Pilgrims joined together for a huge feast, which is the foundational story of the Thanksgiving story that's taught in public schools. But again, that is not the real story of Thanksgiving. That's the textbook brain. It did happen, but it's so much more than that. And I love taking the opportunity every year to explain the truth, especially now, given how this election has apparently, allegedly fallen out. Because even as the Federalist side, this is so great that the story is spreading. One of the most important legacies of the early settlers is that they experimented with socialism in the 1620s and it did not work. Private property rights, personal responsibility, saved the Plymouth colony from extinction and laid the economic foundation for the free and prosperous nation that we all enjoy today. And that is exactly right. And that is the true story of Thanksgiving, and that has been what we have shared with you every Thanksgiving for the past 31 years. Now a brief break. We'll be back after this. This is George Washington's Thanksgiving Proclamation, first one establishing the Thanksgiving holiday as a distinct and unique American holiday. I'm going to read it to you in toto. It's not that long. Whereas, excuse me, whereas it is the duty of all nations to acknowledge the providence of Almighty God, to obey His will, to be grateful for His benefits, and humbly to implore His protection and favor. And whereas both houses of Congress have by their joint committee requested me to recommend to the people of the United States a day of public thanksgiving and prayer to be observed by acknowledging with grateful hearts the many signal flavors of Almighty God, especially by affording them an opportunity peaceably to establish a form of government for their safety and happiness. Now, therefore, I do recommend and assign Thursday, the 26th day of November next, to be devoted by the people of these states to the service of that great and glorious being who is the beneficent author of all the good that was, that is, or that will be, that we may then all unite in rendering unto him our sincere and humble thanks for his kind care and protection of the people of this country previous to their becoming a nation, for the signal and manifold mercies and the favorable interpositions of his providence, which we experienced in the tranquility, the union, and plenty which we have since enjoyed, for the peaceable and rational manner in which we have been enabled to establish constitutions of government for our safety and happiness, and particularly the national one now lately instituted for the civil and religious liberty with which we are blessed, and the means we have of acquiring and diffusing useful knowledge, and in general for all the great and various favors which God hath been pleased to confer upon us. And also that we may then unite in most humbly offering our prayers and supplications to the great Lord and ruler of nations, and beseech him to pardon our national and other transgressions, to enable us all, whether in public or private stations, to perform our several and relative duties properly and punctually, to render our national government a blessing to all the people, by constantly being a government of wise, just, and constitutional laws, discreetly and faithfully executed and obeyed, to protect and guide all sovereigns and nations, especially such as have shown kindness unto us, and to bless them with good government, good peace, and concord, to promote the knowledge and practice of true religion and virtue, and the increase of science among them and us, and generally to grant unto all mankind such a degree of temporal prosperity as God alone knows to be best. Given under my hand at the city of New York, the 3rd day of October in the year of our Lord, 1789, George Washington. How many of you have heard that our founders were not religious? That they were atheists or agnostics? They really didn't have much to do with religion at all. That is George Washington's first Thanksgiving proclamation, thanking God in practically every sentence of it for the establishment of our Constitution, for the establishment of our government, our good government, for the safety and well-being of our people, for blessing the United States of America. This is how far we have strayed. A speech like this, or a Thanksgiving proclamation like this, why, there would be hell to pay. the American left. Imagine Donald Trump reading this proclamation in the name of George Washington. Can you imagine that happening? Can you imagine the reaction the American left would? They were talking about civil rights violations, separation of church and state, forcing religion on people. Of course, this was not forcing religion on anybody. This is simply an acknowledgement by the first president of the United States of the role God played in the establishment of this country, for which he was there, for which he participated.
See, I had heard various versions of what Rush was saying. I had never heard that version, the 30-minute version where he then tacked on that address by George Washington. The people who founded this country were prolific. They were so smart. That as he was reading that speech, I was like, man, we don't hear people talk like that. We don't hear, especially in government, we don't hear people talk like that. And today, on today, of all days, right before this Thanksgiving, how true did he say with the words that he just said? The words that he had been saying, he said for 30 years. How true is it today that we need to give thanks and understand, one, socialism never worked. Number two, that we are a nation founded under God. And so that God is today who you're going to have to lean on, because there is so much craziness going on. Even at this moment, people are cheering that those guardsmen were shot. Cheering. They're saying things like they got kirked. It is a joke. So if we are moving into a civil war of sorts, at first, arm yourself. Arm yourself. And I don't mean man's armament. Before we go into battle, we have to cover ourselves with the armament of God. And right now, I pray a cloak of protection over all of the law enforcement and National Guardsmen and military who are out there right now, who people in our own country want to see their demise. Our own citizens and, of course, the non-citizens would think nothing. They don't care. They want this anarchy. And the sooner more people realize that, forget polls. There is no poll you can read right now. There is no poll that's going to tell you anything. We either get this done and get it done quickly, or it's not going to matter and it's going to become a hellscape. There's no plan B. We have to right this ship right away or we will succumb. And luckily, I believe we have that person in charge who also knows that. When are the things going to happen to enable everything we need? I don't know. I can't answer that. I'm tired of defending Pam Bondi to everybody. He knows what's going to happen. He knows that if they're to get power, they're going to come after him. They're going to strip him of everything possible. They're going to take his businesses away from him. They'll try to take his property away from him. And they'll probably try to take his freedom away from him. So he knows that. So forget the polls. Forget the craziness on X. If you just keep in your mind that President Trump knows what their end game is, that should give you some solace. When the time comes, I can't tell you. But I can tell you, he knows it's do or die. And today we find out that may be literally staring people in the face. I don't know whether these people have passed or not. SV posted, no, they haven't. Other people are posting, yes, they have. I just while Rush was finishing, I posted something from Elon. Well, actually, I can probably show it to you because he's not banned or anything. It's his platform. Let me show you what Elon Musk just posted. So I don't know if he is someone that knows or knows anything, but where did he post it? Oh, maybe it just wasn't now. Where is it? Where is his post? I'm scrolling backwards because he posts so much. I can't find it. Hold on. I want to bring it up. And you know he's got the ear of President Trump and people close in the government. So here's what he said. My deepest condolences. And if you look at the time, that was at 6:40 p.m. My deepest condolences to the families of the 2 National Guardsmen who were murdered in cold blood today. How many innocent people dying does it take to reform our broken system? Radical action is needed. So at 6:40, which was just about 20 minutes ago, he posted that. I don't know. I don't know if he knows. I don't know. But I'm putting things together because I saw the people feverishly doing CPR. I mean, this guy was working. So I don't know. Maybe they're keeping it tight-lipped for a reason. I can't tell you. I'm looking right now. Elon, again, is posting. Justin, Elon says that the people who falsely call someone a Nazi or fascist should be charged with incitement to murder. I believe that as well. And there's what he posted. Falsely labeling nonviolent people as fascist or Nazi should be treated as incitement to murder and definitely a hate crime. Absolutely. Breaking the suspect who, can't show that picture. Breaking the suspect who is accused of pulling the trigger is being investigated for a possible act of terrorism. You don't think? I mean, you think not? Officials said the subject, who is alleged to have used a handgun, has been initially identified. This is what I was hoping wouldn't come out. Let me see how much I can show before the picture shows so I don't get in trouble. All right. The official said the suspect, who is alleged to have used a handgun, has been identified as a Afghan national. Prayer and putting on the armor of God. We definitely need it. So I didn't want to hear that, because hearing that tells me all kinds of stuff is going to break loose if this guy is a newcomer. Crazy. Let's see. I'm going to do super chats and then the after party. I'm not going to show the movie tonight because, you know, I wanted to have fun with you guys and laugh and giggle. Let's save it for tomorrow, and we'll look at it tomorrow. See how that goes. All right, cutting edge. Just people give them a good reason to go. Yeah. Cindy should have told the woman yelling about a warrant, you can get out of your house. There's a Somali family taking it forever. Nick Pip. Remember the Bongino rule. Wait 48 to 72 hours for info. Yep, that's not just his rule. I feel the same way. That's why I can't confirm anything. Cutting edge. Is this happening exactly just 36 hours after Trump bans the Muslim Brotherhood? Good point. Tim Curry, thanks for coming on. You're not just my news, but I consider you a friend. Fanfare is a place of solace for the like-minded. And I thank you for that, and I hope you guys truly find that, and you can interact with each other as well. Redeem Patriot. Our government is ungovernable. Insurrection Act. The military is the only way. Yeah, because they'll go right back to trashing the military. They will. Alice, so thankful for you keeping us informed. Thank you. I'm trying. Do you believe, as I've got the news up, wait a minute, hold on. They got something out. Hold on. Oops. Where's the volume for this? Volume.
Wednesday like today, it would be packed with people, but given the holiday, the government winding down for the holiday itself, it was fairly quiet. But a number of people were in the building surrounding where the shooting took place, and they had vantage points looking down where you could see the chaos unfolding. You could see the shards of glass from a bus stop that was shattered amongst the gunfire. We have not also been able to identify the 2 service members who were injured in this, but there was a change in their status because earlier this evening we heard, Jason, from the governor of West Virginia, who had posted posted on social media that the people had died in this incident. The service members of those patriots had died. He then clarified on social media that they had not. He had been getting conflicting information, and we have not gotten an update on their condition since then. So we're hoping that, of course, there would be some sort of good news that those people would be able to survive. But given some of the video, pictures, and eyewitnesses' statements we've heard, Jason, you can imagine the terrible situation that they're dealing with. We also heard tonight from FBI Director Kash Patel, who was out here on the scene, meeting with law enforcement officials, seeing firsthand the aftermath of the attack. Here's what he had to say not too long ago.
Make no mistake, they will be brought to justice.
Yeah, okay, so we heard that. Governor, as you just heard, the governor of West Virginia has changed his tune and is now saying that they are still alive. I don't know why. As the guy from Fox was actually saying, the videos that you see, you're like, I don't know how a person could survive that. And if they are survive, I mean, they got popped in the head at close range. Let's see, let me go back here. Fikowski missed all this crap, was wondering. Yep, now you know, precursor of Thanksgiving, not good. Just be careful out there. My sister-in-law, who's in her 30s, visiting from California, we were talking, I learned she was a Trump supporter. It made my day. That's awesome. Hello, Neo. Barry, thank you for sharing the Thanksgiving story learned in grade school. Short version, praying for those. Even Neo says killed. We don't know. We don't know what's going on, why they're not updating it for hours. Maybe they are hanging on. Maybe they are hanging on. We don't know. Christina, thank you, Barry, for bringing this to us. Jesus bless and be with us. Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family, and to you and Gray Man as well. All right, so everybody have a happy, safe Thanksgiving. I may do the movie tomorrow night. We may have to wait till Friday. Let's see what happens here. I definitely don't want to be celebrating and laughing while people have been killed. So let's watch for updates. Maybe President Trump will speak. If not tonight, tomorrow. We'll see what happens. If he does come on, I'll try to jump back on if I get notification of it. But be safe, please. Be safe. Want to see you on the other side either tomorrow or Friday. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. You think of what happened today, you have even more reason to give thanks. More reason to thank God for what's in front of you. Whether you're at home with a turkey pot pie or with 50 people in the family and 14 turkeys on the table, whatever it is that wherever you are, you have something to be thankful for. And if by chance you are alone and you're wondering, tomorrow's a holiday and things, it doesn't feel right, you get lonely, tell some people right now in the chat, tell some people that, hey, listen, I'm going to be alone tomorrow, and maybe people can reach out to you. Don't feel like you're alone. There's, 6,000 people watching right this moment. More people will be watching on chat. Yeah, there's like almost 5,500. So you're not alone. Just let other people know, especially with something like this. Something's on your mind. We got strength in numbers and strength in the Lord. Talk to you guys tomorrow, probably.
were never allowed to get that information because I don't think the government had any idea. I don't think they kept an accurate accounting. And if they did, I think they realized there were probably lots of gaps. We were told there were going to be about 2,000 people that had worked with our military as people that tried to help with the cause to help protect our troops in Afghanistan. Right. But then at the end of the day, there were closer to 100,000. But we don't know what that number was, and I don't think the government has kept good track of it. And I'm sure there were mistakes that were made.
Congressman, I'm cutting both of you off. I really do appreciate it. Thanks for joining us on this breaking news night. But coming up, more on what we're learning and what we know about the suspect right after the break. and then overstayed his visa. And this is in just moments ago. The suspect apparently waited for the guardsman to come around the corner, then opened fire. He shot a female guard in the chest, then walked up, took her firearm, and shot her point blank in the head. He took her weapon and fired at other guard members, hitting one in the neck before a third guardsman engaged him and brought him down. Let's go live now to West Palm Beach, where Fox's Dana Marie McNichol is standing by. Dana Marie, what has the reaction been from the White House tonight?
Hi, Jason. Good evening. Although President Trump is here in Florida, the White House went on lockdown immediately after that shooting happened. We know that the president was quickly briefed, and then he posted on Truth Social updates. He shared the suspect who shot the two National Guard members is severely wounded and will, quote, pay a very steep price. He wrote, God bless our great National Guard and all our military and law enforcement. They are truly great people. We know Senator Chuck Schumer, he posted on X, he's closely monitoring the situation and thanking first responders for quickly capturing the suspect that Fox News just confirmed is an Afghan national who came into the United States during Operation Allies Welcome in 2021 under the Biden administration. Now, law enforcement sources say they believe the male suspect acted alone in a targeted attack. Now, hundreds of National Guard troops have been in Washington since August, and earlier this month, President Trump ordered their deployment to be extended in the city until at least through February of next year. And tonight, the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, said that Trump ordered an additional 500 troops to be deployed in D.C. Now, as the news of the shooting broke, Vice President J.D. Vance, he was addressing service members at Fort Campbell in Kentucky ahead of the Thanksgiving holiday. He asked for prayers for the two West Virginia National Guard members who are in critical condition tonight. And Jason, you just shared those gruesome details of how this shooting played out just blocks away from the White House. Now, the president is not expected to address this shooting on camera tonight, but tomorrow does have a scheduled call over the phone with service members. So, of course, we'll be bringing you those remarks.